Welcome to your Optimal Personal Economy podcast with Justin Bennett. Your personal economy is your ability to create, protect, preserve, and utilize your wealth, your financial world. Justin will share strategies and stories to help you optimize your personal economy. Now, on to the show with Justin Bennett and co-host Matt Halloran.
Hello and welcome to another podcast with Justin Bennett. Today we're going to talk about the two things that you need to pay very close attention to when you are in business or you have a relationship, which is one of the two, with a financial advisor. Which is that relationship, and also the value that they provide. There is a lot of misinformation out there commoditizing what financial services professionals do. And it's like this race to the bottom of the least amount of fees for the least amount of whatever. And what you're going to find is you truly get what you pay for, but it's hard to quantify truly what the relationship is and what the value you're getting unless you have somebody who can explain it to you very clearly, which is what Justin is going to take some time to talk to us about today. So Justin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Hey, man, I'm really interested in where you're going to go with this. So which one of the two are we going to start with, and then take us on this journey?
Sure. I think for our listeners, we should probably just again state that when we work with folks, and I think when businesses work with, whether they be outside our industry or inside our industry, I think the two most critical things in working with somebody is the relationship and value. And if both the relationship and the value are not present, then the whole thing's just not going to work. And so when we interact with our clients, we always try to demonstrate and support value as it relates to their planning. And that's, an ongoing thing, which we can talk about. But then there's this relationship element. And so, Matt, I just want to be clear that, every time we interact with a client, we don't feel this sense of obligation to bring additional value to that conversation. Because if we're having multiple conversations with a client on an ongoing basis throughout the course of the year, it's not something that's realistic to say, hey, every time we have a 5-minute call or a 20-minute WebEx or a 2-hour meeting, whatever it might be, that we have to bring value, because, ultimately we lead with a lot of value right up front when we're building out the client's vision and plan. But I think people appreciate the relationship component of what we do, which could be as simple as following a client and knowing that they may have moved from one house to another house, and then shortly after they move into the new house, they have a little housewarming gift that arrives at their home, which of course is under the $100 per year, because for compliance reasons, we have to keep the value of the gift under $100. But the idea is that they get a little gift that they didn't otherwise expect. And it's more of a relationship that we're building on and growing on, and making sure that the client realizes that we care about them and we care about their family, and we don't want to just look at it from a money perspective or a planning perspective. But there's little things along the way that make a big difference. So whether we're interacting with our clients to demonstrate and show value, which we do pretty frequently and we'll continue to do, but I think there's also that relationship aspect, and people really appreciate it.
Having a relationship with a financial services professional should really be like the relationship that you have with other people in your life who really matter a lot to you. I mean, Justin, you help people with their life savings. I mean, that to me is an elevation of a relationship potential that if your financial services professional isn't living up to the severity and the seriousness of that level of relationship, then I think they're missing out on some of the great value that you bring as an advisor. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair. And just, sometimes it's hard for our listeners to wrap their arms around the relationship piece of it without citing examples. So I mentioned that previous one, but I also would say what we do a fairly good job at is listening to the people that we serve And if the person mentions that they have a big meeting with a prospective client of theirs, or they have a review with an important person on their team, or they are experiencing some sort of difficulty within their business, we could also just drop that person a line and check in and just say, hey, just wanted to see how the meeting went. Hey, was just thinking about you. Hopefully you cleaned up, that problem that you had kind of outlined to me. And I think to us, like there's not value as it relates to their planning when we do that, but it's clearly a relationship building element to what we do. And it could be as much as, listen, conversations disappear between people. So as good as we may be with respect to the value that we produce, which I think we're pretty good, Matt, I think if we can just reach out to clients occasionally and just say, hey, Matt, I was just thinking about you. I wanted to check in to see how you're doing. I know your son's big in sports, and I know that we're kind of coming into baseball season here. Is he getting ready to play baseball, or is he playing lacrosse? Like that little stuff. It matters. It makes a difference.
Well, it makes me feel like you're listening, right? And I think our industry has failed miserably over the many, many years since its inception, that advisors aren't willing to have that conversation. They're generally talking at the client instead of having a true conversation with the client. I love that you pay attention to things like that. Hey, how's little Johnny doing, with lacrosse or with baseball, or how's Jane doing with softball, or I heard that she's competitively dancing, or there was a big dance event this weekend. Did you go? I want the listeners to just pause for a second and think about how they would feel if their financial services professional would say things like that. I mean, Justin, you have to get some feedback from your clients when you do those little things, don't you?
Typically people say, they respond, hey, he's doing great. Yes, he's going to play baseball. He's going to play lacrosse. But he said, hey, thanks for thinking of me. Thanks for reaching out. That means a lot. And, it's important that we do things that mean a lot to the people that we serve, because, we're in the people business. So I think that it's critical, right, for us to be able to do that. And we're not perfect at it. We try to be pretty good at it. We're always looking to become better at it. And so, people start to really appreciate it. And it could be also, I'm just trying to think of another more tangible example that we've found ourselves recently doing with some people that we serve. It could be, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here, because we do it so frequently. I think it could be, you come across like an article, or you come across a post on social, and you bring up to somebody, hey, I came across this, was just thinking about you. And it could be, totally unrelated to their planning and the work that you're doing together, but it could be something as simple as, a change in their industry, or a competitor of theirs, a news update. And people like when you're connected with them, because I think as human beings, we want to be connected. And the more connectivity that we can have, the safer we feel, the more trust we ultimately have. And then if we could exemplify some empathy, I think it enhances the experience that clients have, which is all on the relationship side, right? It has nothing to do with showing a client how to, create this plan that's going to allow them to spend the most amount of income on the least amount of capital, which I know we've talked about as an example in previous episodes. Mm-hmm. But that's value on their planning front. But then there's also this element of the working on the relationship. And so that's big for us. And we don't take that lightly. And so but we also, I would just tell you, Matt, that like over the last several years, I've gotten into this whole, endurance thing and ultras and all sorts of different physical grueling activities. And it's pretty cool to surround myself with, like-minded people. And so when you're participating in activities together because you have common interests, and if, that leads to some planning and some business to do together, great. But I think what you find is that you build like that special bond on the relationship just by doing these common shared interests.
Any closing thoughts and any other thing that you want to add before we wrap today's podcast up?
I think that relationship and value is critical in any business, but I think that we'll continue to work hard to demonstrate that with our clients. And I think that not all listeners will philosophically feel the same way, but also, frankly, some people that we start working with might drift away from the relationship with our firm, which we respect and honor. And so we realize that, life events happen, which may cause that to occur. And so we just respect it, we honor it, and we keep doing the best we can. So I think relationship and value are really, really critical components to, working together with people.
Well, thank you, Justin. If you have not connected with Bennett Financial Group on social media, make sure you take a moment to do that. Not only because social is social, right? It's an opportunity for Justin and his team to know what's going on with you, and also the reciprocal, right? You knowing what's going on with the team. So, Justin, thank you so much for your thought leadership today.
Thanks, Matt. Hope you have a great day.
And I hope you have a great day too. And I hope all of our listeners have a great day. And it would be an even greater day if you went ahead and subscribed to the podcast, and make sure that you share this with your friends and family. But if you've already done that, that's fantastic. And for everybody at Bennett Financial Group, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.